Welcome to the podcast. This is Jazz. I am joined with Molly. You might know her as Bounce Bark Hike on multiple socials, or That Bearded Collie Lady, who everyone seems to think your dogs are doodles for some reason.
It's the automatic assumption, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I am very excited to have you on, mostly because it means I just get to hang out with all of my remote friends for a couple hours.
I've never done a podcast, so hopefully I don't mess this up.
Nah, there's no such thing unless we just sit here and stare at each other the whole time. For those who are unaware, there is a link that you can fill out if you want to be on the podcast, in which I ask a bunch of questions so that I at least have like some jumping off points. And I want to get into your like who are you? What is your background in dog sports and dogs?
Yeah, I am so I have bearded collies and really never didn't grow up in dogs at all. My parents had dogs, but they lived in the backyard, that kind of thing. And then my mid 20s was looking for a dog with my ex-husband, and we decided we were going to get a bearded collie. I had never met a bearded collie. But I said that, I see like they're really good at agility and I would like to do agility. So I told the breeders I talked to, I'm looking for a dog. I'd like to do agility. And the breeder I ended up with said, would you be willing to show this dog also? And I was like, sure. I mean, honestly, like I want a puppy so much, I'm willing to try anything. Right.
Right.
And so I just kind of was like, I'm going to try all the things. And I had a co-owner who was very supportive and helpful, who was the stud dog owner for my dog, and was like, you really need to train that dog because he was a crazy puppy. As he was a normal puppy, but she's like, you need to take that dog to obedience class. And so we started doing a little bit of obedience too while he grew up. And I did a little bit of showing, and then he kind of went totally naked, as puppies and coat change do. So we focused more on the agility stuff, and that kind of sucked me in. I always say, honestly, though, like his CGC test was like the gateway title, because I worked so hard for that. And I laugh because my husband now, I met him in that class. But he did no work at all, like no effort with his dog, who was a St. Bernard and like the easiest dog on the planet. And I went out every day and trained and everything. And I got that very first title. And I was like, this is awesome. And I want to do more. And so that was what totally got me hooked. But really, like I started in agility and I put an agility championship on that dog. And I did eventually show him and put a conformation championship on. And he's the very first dog I did rally with also, because I think rally was very, maybe just introduced then. But yeah, I've kind of, after that, continued to add dogs and continue to try new sports, and apparently continued to lose any sense of embarrassment when it comes to messing up or trying new things, even if I'm terrible at them.
I love that. I need to get better at that, to be honest, because I'm still way too aware of people perceiving me.
I joke with my friend though that, like, I'm willing to just wing it in a lot of ways. Yes, I'll go read the rule book or whatever, but um, it's hard. We're such busy lives and everything else, and there's only so many things you can give all the training time and effort to. Yeah, the
Yeah,
puppy's squeaking the toy back there. Sorry.
it's fine.
But there's only so many things you can go like super deep into with limited time and money and multiple dogs as well. And so there's other things I want to dabble in, and I have dabbled in a lot of things. But I don't mind. I don't mind just winging it and seeing what happens. And sometimes we're successful, and sometimes we're not. But I'm out there having fun with my dog, right?
I love that so much. So we did get a little bit of a guest appearance there from Delilah. How is the puppy?
She's good. She's just running around squeaking her toys right now because everyone else is crated. Um, she's a very happy puppy because she's been fed her dinner now. So um, she's good. I've had to travel for work, and I have to go on another business trip tomorrow. And
Goodness.
I hate it. I don't haven't had to travel at all, but suddenly it's all bunching at once. And I hate it because I feel like we get disconnected on even just a few days apart, which is silly because we're really not. Like they're fine when I get back, obviously, but like I feel like I'm disconnected from her, and it's probably more that she's becoming an adolescent. Like she's turning 7 months old this week, and so we're getting the
Oh my
adolescent
goodness.
attention span, and there's other things in the world besides mom, and so we're going with the flow, staying consistent on training and everything else, and I know it'll all come back. But yeah, right now we're deep in the throes of adolescent brain.
Oh,
It's
joy. I recently got a third dog, and I thought he was a year younger than my two. Turns out he's a month older,
oh wow,
and I don't know if I will ever actually get a puppy again because it's
yeah,
kind of nice being handed like a performance dog and being like, "All right, go do stuff with him. He knows
yeah.
all the basics."
I mean, I love like that first stretch of puppy training for sure. Like I love raising puppies too. I really find that part enjoyable. Once you get past the
That's a
worry about
skill.
their survival, once you're not worried about survival anymore, and it's like exposing them to the world. I really enjoy that, and I really enjoy puppy sponges and teaching them so many things. But it has been 5+ years since I had an adolescent, so I'm getting that little reminder of like this is what teenagers are like, and it's going to be a while until we get our brains back together.
When do bearded collies kind of grow up, more or less?
Um, there's spurts, right? So I remember I remember with multiple dogs at about a year old going, "Oh, wow, like we're seeing some maturity in things," right? And then at 2, um, 3 maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe 3. I mean, I would say 3 is like when we start calling them physically mature because but yeah, they're slow maturers mentally too. They're not dogs that are there are people that do go out and work seriously from a very young age with them, but that hasn't been my experience. I'd rather give my dogs time to just grow up and learn who they are and figure our relationship out. Yeah, 2 or 3. So I have a
Fair.
while.
You're just getting started.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh joy. I look forward to all the TikToks.
Oh God. I think I've already complained about, not complained, but just kind of said some days you just feel like you're doing the best you can, right? And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that puppy teenager, whatever she is, needs extra outings, but then everyone else still needs their exercise, their stuff, their classes or whatever. But I also have to prioritize, like she's in an age where she needs a little bit more, so we need to do extra things, and yeah.
That's so fun though. So I know I got you into a sport that I'll talk about later. Um, of all the sports you've done, because I think you have done all of them at some point, which ones are your favorites?
So I haven't done everything because obviously with herding breeds, I haven't touched, the other group specific activities, right? Like earth dog or hunt tests or anything like
Okay,
that. But
everything available to you.
the biggies and not at the highest level for everything, but like I said, I've dabbled in a lot. It really depends because I try to go with like what each dog really loves too. But I do really love herding. I think it's the hardest thing by far because you're using a living creature with its own thoughts and ideas to control other living things with their own thoughts and ideas. So you're totally not in control of what any of those things want to do, and you're trying to manage it all, right? Herding, I think, is the most complicated in that sense, but I do love it. And I haven't been able to do a lot of it for a few years with life and job changes and everything else. But I hope to get back to it with Delilah. She just had a instinct test this weekend and
Mm-hmm.
like flying happy, what am I saying?
Yay!
Sailed right through it. Like she was great. So I was like, I would
I
love to get
love
back to
that.
herding. So herding is one of my favorites. I really, really loved agility, and that was like my first sport. And I haven't had an agility dog in a long time because we didn't have any place to train near us, and we do now. So I'm hoping to get back to agility. But I love agility. I think that's super fun. There's so many different venues, so you can kind of take it as seriously or not seriously as you want, but also like different types of course types and what you like in agility and the kind of the people you like hanging with in agility because they're all a little bit of a different crowd
Hmm.
too. Um, what else? I love canicross because I like to run and I have a dog that likes to run, but I know we'll talk about that more later too. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think those are kind of my favorites in a lot of ways. Obedience was still one of those ones that was like a mental hurdle to get over in terms of just fear of that. Rally was a great sort of beginner way to get into that when it first came out. Rally's
Hmm.
obviously gotten a lot more serious and more difficult since then. You can definitely go into really hard places with it now that you couldn't before. And so people take it a lot more seriously than when it used to just be like, let's do this fun thing that isn't quite obedience. But like I have at least one dog who just loves rally. It's her favorite thing to be as close to me as she can. And so that's fun
I'm
because
gonna
people do
guess
that.
that that one is Astrid?
It's Maeve.
Dang it.
Maeve loves like being right there at my side more than anybody else. Astrid was my brilliant herding dog. She was the one I
Okay.
got super serious with herding with. So, um, yeah, like I said, everybody's got a little bit of their thing too. And, at the same time, I know I'm listing all the sports, but like scent work is fabulous because the dogs get to do this kind of almost entirely independently of you and use their, God-given features, if you want to call them that, like, but they're natural skills to do something that's very rewarding to them, and we're just along for the ride. And so that I think is super enjoyable as well. And it's really fun. When I traveled a couple weeks ago, my friend who came and stayed and watched my dogs is a certified nose work instructor, and so she just started hiding the puppy's lunch and having her search for it. And she was like, "She's this completely brilliant nose work dog. Like she's so good at this for her age." So now I keep hiding her lunch every day. Um,
Hey, that's a
but
good way to get energy out.
yeah, but just seeing even a puppy figure out how fast she can, search for food and search for other things, and I watch her nose go, and I love that. I love seeing when they're in odor, and they're really driven to do it. I think it's so interesting, and it's obviously like something that comes so naturally to them.
That's I do love scent work as well, but we do more of the rat hunting version of it. You also listed barn hunt and pet therapy. I didn't know you did pet therapy.
I did that a long time. Did I list that? I did that with like my first dog a long time ago. We
No,
used
I'm
to go
reading the
to.
wrong person's thing.
Oh, it's okay. I did do it with my first
Oh,
dog
that's
a long
fantastic.
time ago. But it's been like 20 years.
You're like, how did
Um,
you know that?
and that was, you know what? The funny part is like that was a really interesting one for me because it was so much more about like basically, at least where I was going, which was a rehab hospital, it was so much more about like people just wanted somebody to talk to. So like, okay, you walk in with a dog, they're like, nice dog, but they just wanted to sit and talk. So it was a
Oh.
nice opportunity for that for people with at least the place I was assigned. I've done barn hunt, but did not have great training opportunities near me. So barn hunt was entirely a winging it thing where like somebody was in town to set up for a trial and they would do lessons the day before and I would like
Hmm.
blitz lesson everybody and then just enter the trial and see how we did. So probably we would enjoy it more like if we trained it. One of Maeve's daughters lives with the people who have like the top barn hunt beardies, like the highest, some of the highest titles, I think, even in barn hunt, because they've done it since the beginning. Um,
I might
and
have
so
met
they
them
take it
without
very
realizing it.
seriously. Sorry?
I think I might have met her without realizing it
Oh, maybe.
because, like, we live in the town that hosts nationals,
Okay.
and there's not a whole lot of bearded collies.
Right. Right. I don't know if they've gone every time. I know they didn't go this year. They might have gone last year. Um,
I didn't make it out this year, but I did make
okay.
it out last year. I think
Oh,
I
I
might
think
have
they were,
seen them from a distance, but that was a long time ago, so I don't have a full
yeah.
memory.
Hey, enough. Delilah is entertaining herself by barking at Astrid, who's stuck in a crate. Um, those two are like peas in a pod. They really are. They just drive each other bonkers. Yeah, I don't know. Like I've dabbled in, like I said, a
Almost
fair number of
everything.
these at this point. I'm a title whore, okay? Like it's fun if I can,
It's
the fit dog
I
stuff
mean
came
to
out. I was like, well, we already lock. I can track that. I can, you mentioned one of these things to me, and I'm like, let's go see. The fetch thing came out. I was like, well, my dogs are rabid retrievers. Let's go do that. It's just money, right?
what's it for if it's not to have fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna open up the can of worms that is Canny Cross.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at with that? Like, what titles have you gotten?
So right before we had puppies this spring, Sorsha finished her championship bronze, um, which was what is
Congrats.
it? 50. She's so beyond whatever the required miles
It's
are, so I
like the
can't even remember.
50 lifetime
50, yeah,
miles,
she's like 280
five,
something right now. But it's like yeah, what is
like
it?
five
Five
races,
five
five,
5Ks and three 10Ks. Does that sound right?
that sounds
Um,
close.
Yeah, so we did the last 10K we needed and got her championship bronze. So obviously had puppies, did not run at all, then was like trying to get back to life. So I've been trying to just barely get back to both of us getting in shape this fall. Obviously, like she's already in great shape, but I still want to ease her back into distance. So we have not done any racing, but they had a couple virtual events, so we've technically gotten some virtual races out of that. Um, so
Oh, I gotta submit my bingo card. I
I
just
think
realized.
she
Yeah.
needs another 10K and a half marathon for her championship silver. But I'm clearly just not in a rush to be in hot pursuit of that because I have run. I used to run and do triathlons as well at like major distance, all the highest distances you can do them at essentially. Um, Somewhere, my first dog is the reason I started running. The joke was I said I started running because I couldn't keep up with him in agility, and then I just got hooked on running. um, but most of the time now if I want to take all my dogs out, I want to go hike, so I do more hiking than I do running. But Sorsha really loves running, so we do the canicross thing, and some of it's walks, some of it's hikes, some of it's runs. That's what I love
Yeah,
about North American
it all
canicross, is
counts.
that any speed counts. You don't have to be a runner. You just have to be on an unpaved surface with the correct equipment for your dog, and it counts. And it's great because it means like I can walk somebody else along, or I put her mom also in a harness and hook her up so that the two of them are out for a walk or whatever. And I only track Sorsha's mileage, but at some point we'll find a few races again. I'm just not like in this crazy rush to chase the next level title down that I was before, again, because I have to be in shape to try to at least do 13 miles with her.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at the titles, and I looked at Merle, and I was like, "Hey, bud, we're gonna do a few half marathons. It looks like."
There you go.
So, so the bronze is 3 qualifying races of at least 10K
Okay.
and a maximum of 13 miles.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, you've got your 5 10Ks. So no, I was saying there were 5Ks, and
Okay. Yeah, I
then
have
one
five
half
Ks,
and
and I think we have
or
four
half
10Ks
marathon.
right now. Yeah. So yeah, we need a little bit more. But again,
That's
not in a
crazy.
super rush. The weather is just barely cooling off where I'm at for the winter, so it'll be a little more enjoyable, a little easier.
That's awesome. Getting back to whatever you're doing after puppies, what are you looking forward most to?
Um, so I have obviously done well. If you anybody who follows me, I've done a little bit of a blitz post puppies where I was like, "Yay, they're gone! Let's enter everything," because clearly I should just spend all my money. Clearly, this is a theme, right? I mean, dog sports are expensive,
They
so
really are.
definitely like jumped right into some shows. Jumped into doing rally with Maeve again because I promised her when it was done, when puppies were done, she'd get to go back to rally. I've entered a few scent work trials. I am right now trying to finish Maeve's overall scent work novice title. I did like a couple titles like a year and a half ago just to
Mm-hmm.
get her. I think she needed that for like a versatility award or something. Um, and so we're just back to trialing a little bit to try to finish that. Um, I am trying to finish Sorsha's elite titles, I think, at the advanced level. She's she's already competed at the excellent level, but because we
Mm-hmm.
were off for a year and a half, I was like, let's just go back to advanced and get some trial
Yeah.
experience back under our belts. So we're doing a little bit of that. I'm showing the puppy a little bit. She's as we're going into this teenage phase, I'm pretty sure she's working on coming to season, and so she's decided that
Oh,
judges'
goodness.
exams are optional. As they do. And I mean, we really haven't done a lot of classes or training or whatnot. So we'll get there, but that's not really a rush. I am throwing Sorsha back in the show ring occasionally, and we haven't done that really in this year at all. Um,
Wow.
I think just getting back to consistent training obviously has been really nice, and sort of building this puppy's repertoire of foundations for all the sports, because it's too soon obviously to figure out like what she likes, loves, or anything else, and she's certainly not ready to do any of the things, but I'm excited to and enjoying just building the foundation of doing lots of stuff. And so
Yeah.
we're going to like CGC prep classes, and we went to a tricks class this week that ended up being super entertaining. It was titled Tricks and Teamwork, and it was something about doing tricks with the context of being around other people and other dogs. And that was the only explanation. And we ended up teaching all of these new tricks. Delilah was picking them all up just like so fast, but doing them like we started all lined up on platforms with these other teams,
Mhm.
and then we all did them in unison together, like down and back, all the tricks, and it was recorded on a video. And I guess they're going to put it to music and put it out at some point. But so
That's
all
fun.
this new stuff with all these other like groups around us, and then
That's
doing it all at the
amazing.
same time. Yeah, it was so much fun because I mean, she has a hand touch, but we taught like tell me a secret, right? Like so she would hand touch
Yeah.
that, and then it was like a nose touch to a dot on the floor, a sit or a down within a hoop, another nose touch, a leg weave, which I had never taught her before, going around a barrel, and then like repeating the whole thing coming back to the platform. And we also like did this sort of healing marching pattern around the room. But it was like I had no idea what to expect. I was just like, I want to check out this new training place that I haven't been to, and it was so much fun. And it was just something different and super challenging for her to learn these new things, learn them in the context, and get to do them in the context of around all the other people. And it was really fun. So I like just challenges like that right now of things that we can do to try something different, and continue to expand her little pea brain.
That that class sounds like a blast.
It was fun. It was
I
just a one-off, one-time thing, but it
okay.
was super fun. And I'm still waiting for the video to come out because I hope it's going to be super cute.
I'm totally gonna have to share it because
Yeah.
that just sounds adorable. So hiking,
Yes.
because I hear hiking, and I learned there are different levels to hiking.
Yeah.
What level would you say you are?
Um, I've done a lot of hiking. When I Before I moved to Colorado, we did more backpacking because we didn't live near the mountains. So if we were going to go to the mountains, we were going backpacking for a weekend. And then I moved to Colorado 12 years, a little over 12 years ago. And there's obviously trails everywhere. And so I started learning kind of how to hike, and then how to hike with my dogs, and then how to hike increasing distances with my dogs, and what I needed to bring to be prepared and everything. And so I do less backpacking and more hiking just because everything is so close. I mean, worst case is I'm also somebody who's willing to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and drive 2 hours or 3 hours to be at some like remote mountain trailhead that's amazing. And I don't have to run into people with my dogs. And I can see something gorgeous or get an early start before it gets hot or whatever else. But I personally have done at the longest a 27-mile day hike, over two passes with about 12,000 feet of climbing. I think it's this loop that I live near that's just absolutely stunning in a wilderness area. Did not take a dog for that because I was like, I just need to worry about me not breaking for this thing. Um, well, my dogs have been backpacking. My dogs have done some pretty good long hiking. I usually wait till they're closer to two and we do the health testing before we do anything super long. And then that kind of opens up the over 10K more into like the 10 to 15-mile day hike kind of range. Those take a little bit more planning, obviously, both just getting there, getting started early with the heat, carrying enough food, water, everything else for everybody. Though in the Rockies, we do have a lot of water as well. So I don't usually have to think about that as much caring for the dogs necessarily. But um, then, I mean, just being able to pop out and do 2 to 4 miles anytime is easy for me. In the summer, it gets light so early for us that we can do it. I could do stuffing on a work morning. Um, and then where I'm in Arizona during the winter time. There's still hiking pretty close by, like a little 5K loop, in the buttes. That's really desert scenery and stuff. That's pretty safe to take dogs to as well. And so I do that a fair bit. But we do quite a bit, and I think it's always interesting to see dogs in different areas and how people tackle the hiking, right? Like you certainly down here, you certainly have to bring a lot more water for your dogs most of the time because it's desert scenery. I don't have to think about that quite as much in some of the mountain because I'll tend to do rivers, streams, lakes, that kind of thing in Colorado.
Right.
But everything, and you think about this canicross too, right? Like their feet, and whether their feet are tender or they're kind of toughened up to terrain. And because we hike a lot of like these sort of granite slabs and rocky trails and stuff at home, my dogs do tend to have pretty tough feet for conditions.
Yeah.
But then you can't just go something like that without ever sort of prepping their feet for
Oh
it,
no.
without tearing a bunch of hot pads. Or the one I learned is if they're spending a lot of time in water and then they get out and they run on granite slabs. And I found that more in the Sierras in California, they
Ooh,
tear hot pads. So then you're
I wouldn't
packing
even have
boots,
thought about that.
packing boots so they can make it out okay and stuff like that. So I mean, you throw dogs into, I mean, hiking I love anyway. And again, I had to learn all how to do that. This was not something I grew up doing. We were not outdoorsy people by any means. And then the first time I started going on trails by myself with my dogs, I was terrified. There was a mountain lion around every corner, or I was going to do a bear or something else. So I did so much research before every trail to know, what to expect, what was safe, what was going to be around this turn, what somebody saw 3 weeks ago on the trail, like if they spotted something. But then with dogs, just adding the preparation factor, I think makes a difference.
So when you're doing those super long hikes, you mentioned carrying food not just for you but also the dogs. How do
Snacks.
you balance? Because you have big dogs, like bearded collies are not small. Is bloat a thing for your breed, or like how do you
Mostly
manage
not.
that?
So I mean, they're medium sized, right? So my adult girls are all about 40 pounds.
Oh,
And boys, what I would put in like the 50 to 55 range. So they're
okay. So they're
medium-ish.
about dolly size.
Yeah. In general, I'm sure there's been a case or two, but in general, I don't think we don't worry too much about bloat and beardies. But
Cool.
I'm not necessarily feeding meals while they're running on trails hard. I'm just more like obviously snacks for if they're off leash, snacks for recalls and that kind of thing, but also just a little bit of energy for them when
Yeah.
we're doing the long days. There's so many treat options out there for energy boosts for them and whatnot. And if I'm going to bring a Cliff Bar or something else, I want to have something equivalent for them to
I was gonna say
keep
I'm
their
just
energy
now
up.
starting to get ads for like different brands that do essentially dog Cliff Bars, and I was like, I didn't even know these existed.
They didn't used to. Except for maybe, I'm thinking, and I can't remember if it's the same company that does like the Zook minis or something. They might have like a little bit of more of an energy, like a bar kind of thing. I think I could be wrong on the
Hmm.
brand. And I feel like those were around in our backpacking days in California, like 20 years ago. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, now there's all these like electrolyte add to water things and stuff that it gets a little crazy.
I'm so curious about how all of that works because it's like I'm just now learning this from the human side. I can't imagine how complicated it is for the dogs.
Maybe it's easier for the dogs though, because the human stuff gets for someone who's done distance racing, the human stuff gets crazy.
Yeah, you
My
mentioned you triathlons,
Yeah,
like
so
Ironmans.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she says shyly, like
I
that's not an insane achievement.
I so I ended up running a marathon within like a year of starting running because I'm just stupid like that. I was like, well, maybe I'll do 10K. Like I just did a 5K once and I was so mad I couldn't run. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to run. So by the time was able to run 3 miles, I was already signed up for a half marathon. And I was like, I'm never going to do a marathon. And like after my first half marathon, I immediately signed up for a marathon. So this is my personality right here. Okay.
I
Um,
love it.
and
All
so I ran
gas.
for years. And I mean, I would go to agility trials and run my dog. And then they're in our tent in our setup, outside the rings, and they're crated. And then I would run miles in laps around the fairgrounds, watching the ring. I mean, and this is like a tiny little lap around a fairground, but I would just watch and keep an eye and then go back and run my dog again and then go back and run laps, if that was how I had to get my distance in when I was training.
I love that so
And bear
much.
in mind, I could not swim. I really didn't know how to swim. And when we planned our wedding and got married, we just got married with like the dogs on a beach in a kind of remote town in Northern California with a couple friends. And I was like, because I was so diehard into running at that point, I was like, it'd be really fun to run a race the morning of my wedding. And there was no race because it was this tiny town in the middle of nowhere. But for whatever reason, everything was split. So we were having our reception a couple weeks later back home with friends and family. And I looked again, are there any races I can do that morning? And there was a little sprint triathlon in like the lake that I had grown up near. And I was like, I can learn how to swim like 400 yards by then, right? It's next year. And I can figure out how to ride a mountain bike. And 3 miles I know how to run. So I did a sprint triathlon the morning of our wedding reception, and it was terrible. And I like somehow survived the swim, and then the bike was fine, and the run was great. And I went, I got to figure out how to do more of these. And but I'm never. Maybe I'll do an Olympic distance as my longest one, but I'm never going to do anything longer. Like I'm never doing an Ironman or something. Of course, I think the next year I signed up for a half Ironman. And then I got myself a coach and signed up for an Ironman. So I did 3 Ironmans. Um, I'm not
That's
good. I'm not
amazing.
fast. I'm not fast by any means, but I survived
You
these
don't
and I got
have to be.
progressively
You
better each
did it.
time. It was all about my own personal improvements, and I got better with each
Yeah,
one. And then I was like, I need to go do other stuff, like spend more time with my dogs, because it's like 25 hours of training a week, and I just don't have the time for that. And
fair.
I was still running agility and campaigning a special at the same time.
Wow.
I think I
Did
was
you
running
sleep?
agility with both. I think I was running agility with both my boys, and I was campaigning Stanley. But I did hand Stanley off to a handler sometimes. Um, so again, sometimes it would be these trials, and my dogs would sit in the crates, and I would get on my bike and go ride 40 miles and come back before their next run. And then it would be like I would go up to wherever the handler was and hand the dog off at the show, and I would go ride like 50 miles or 60 miles or something, and come back and get my dog.
God,
So
that's amazing.
it was an extreme level of multitasking in prioritizing like my dogs and their sports and my pursuit of this stuff. But at some point, there's just not enough time in life, or
Yeah,
your life situation changes, or you go, I want to be able to just have the freedom to do other things and not live by my nutrition plan and what my entire Saturday is sucked up doing.
the amount of planning ability to pull
Yeah.
that off is fascinating, and I'm very envious.
But again, kind of winging it too. Kind of also winging it, because even though, I mean, obviously I took both things very seriously. And we went to classes, for agility all the time, and we were trialing really heavily towards Max's championship and then Stanley's titles. And I had a coach that I paid for my training plans, and I followed them to a T and everything else for my stuff. At the same time, like blending that together sometimes was like, okay, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go run 20 miles before work so that I can take my dog to class after work. Like, I was
That's
younger. Okay.
amazing.
I was younger then. It was,
You say that you were probably the age I am
I
now,
was
or
in my 30s
close to.
then. So,
Yeah, like,
yeah.
you were still older than I am now, and I'm just like, I don't. How? How did you do that?
But I also had a job that was flexible in the sense that I did a lot of it remote, and I didn't have to show up and sit in an office for 8 hours and commute every day. So, but
Yeah,
sometimes I had to show up and I had to do a 20-mile run in the morning before I left for the office. So, yes, apparently
crazy.
I didn't value sleep as much as I do now. Maybe that's it.
I absolutely love everything about that.